It started with strange noises at night, soft thuds, creaking steps, and the unmistakable sound of something breathing just outside the window. Thinking it was raccoons or maybe a thief, James installed a motion-activated security camera on his porch. But what the footage revealed left him speechless, and later, the entire town. Every single night, a massive bear appeared. But it wasn't rummaging for food, trash, or shelter. It would gently approach the same old porch swing, lower itself down, and rock back and forth beneath the moonlight, as if it remembered something, or someone. Each night it returned, never causing harm, never breaking a thing. Just waiting. And when James finally uncovered why the bear kept coming back, the heartbreaking truth behind its ritual, it shook the internet, and his life forever. Because some memories aren't just human. The first time James Simmons heard the sound, it was just after 2 a.m. A soft creak. Then a thud. Then, silence. He sat up in bed, listening. His dog Charlie didn't bark, but his ears twitched. That was unusual. Normally, anything near the house set him off. James got up, wrapped in an old flannel robe, and stepped out onto the porch. The cool mountain air wrapped around him like mist. Nothing. Just pine trees, his pickup, and the rusty porch swing gently swaying in the breeze. He blamed the wind and went back to bed. But the next night, it happened again. Same time. Same sounds. And the next. And the next. Each night, the porch swing moved. Nothing was stolen, no mess was made. Just the faint impression of something large, sitting. By the fourth night, James set up a security camera, half out of curiosity, half out of unease. He wasn't prepared for what he'd see. The next morning, James poured his coffee and opened the footage on his laptop. His dog curled up at his feet as the video loaded. The grainy night vision clip flickered to life. 12:47 a.m., nothing. 1:13 a.m., the porch swing moved slightly. Then, at 2:02 a.m., a large dark shape emerged from the woods. A bear. Not just any bear. Huge. Shaggy. Cautious. It lumbered across the clearing and stopped at the porch steps. James leaned closer, heart pounding. The bear slowly climbed the steps, sniffed around, and then turned toward the porch swing. It sat down. Gently. As if it had done this before. Then, to James' absolute disbelief, it leaned back, placed one paw over the other, and rocked. Slowly. Peacefully. For over 15 minutes. No damage. No food seeking. Just presence. And when it stood up again, it sniffed the air, looked at the door, and disappeared into the woods. James sat in stunned silence. "What the hell?" he whispered. By morning, James had watched the video over a dozen times. It wasn't just unusual, it was haunting. There was something strangely human about the bear's movements, as if the swing meant something. As if this wasn't the first time it had done this. He posted a clip on his local wildlife Facebook group with a simple caption. Any idea why a bear would do this, every night? By noon, it had over 12,000 shares. Comments flooded in. This gave me chills. Looks like it's mourning something. That swing must mean something to the bear. Please keep filming this. Something's going on. Even local news stations reached out. But James wasn't interested in attention. He was interested in answers. He reviewed past footage, adjusted camera angles, and placed a second camera farther out near the tree line. Night after night, the bear returned. Always around 2 a.m. Always to the swing. Always calm. Until one night, something changed. On the sixth night of recordings, James noticed the bear didn't just rock. It lowered its head and placed one paw on the wood beside it, touching a small, barely visible mark on the armrest. Curious, James went out the next morning and inspected the swing. His fingers traced the old, weathered wood. There, beneath a flaking coat of green paint, he found it. A heart. Carved by hand. Faded, but still visible. Inside the heart were initials. E+L. James froze. That name sounded familiar. He rushed to his bookshelf and pulled out an old binder full of town maps and ranger reports, remnants from when he worked part-time for the forestry department. And there it was. Eleanor plus Lewis Harper. The Harpers had lived in the cabin decades ago, before James bought the place. Retired couple. No kids. Eleanor had passed first. Louis had died just a year later. But that's not what caught his attention. It was a report from 18 years ago, filed by a ranger named Nolan Sharp. 3 orphaned bear cubs found on Harper property. 1 rescued. 2 later seen returning during winter months. James's heart pounded. What if this wasn't just a bear? What if this was the bear that had once been raised here? James couldn't shake it. That name, Louis Harper, echoed through his thoughts like an unanswered question. He asked around town, visited the library, spoke to the oldest folks who still remembered the days when Pine Valley was just a sleepy cluster of cabins and stories passed over firewood. And sure enough, the stories came. Louis and Eleanor? Oh, they were sweethearts, said Martha Dean, the town's retired librarian. They built that porch swing together. Sat on it every evening, rain or shine. But the bear, James pressed. Did they raise one? Martha nodded slowly. There was a cub. Mother died not far from the trail. Louis brought it home. Eleanor named it. What was it? She closed her eyes. Oh yes. Shadow. James leaned in. They raised that bear until it got too big. Louis built a special pen for it, but eventually let it go. Said, if it wants to come back, it will. And did it? Martha smiled. Every summer for years. It would visit the porch. Sit on the swing like it always had. James felt goosebumps crawl across his arms. He realized what he'd captured on camera wasn't just a wild animal wandering near a house. It was Shadow. And Shadow had been coming home. That night, James didn't just record. He prepared. He sat inside, lights off, camera rolling. But this time, he left the front door slightly ajar. At 1:57 a.m., Shadow arrived. The bear stepped onto the porch as gently as ever, nudging the swing first, then lowering his massive body onto the seat with reverence. The creaking didn't seem to bother him. He didn't rock at first, just sat there, breathing in the air. Then his paw reached forward again. It landed softly on the carved initials, E+L. Shadow lowered his head, closed his eyes. James watched from inside, heartbreaking. This wasn't just memory. This was grief. The bear had never forgotten the only humans who had shown him kindness. And night after night, like a ritual, he returned to the place that once meant safety, love, and belonging. Suddenly, everything made sense. James had watched the bear for nights now. But something inside him shifted. This wasn't just curiosity anymore. This was personal. He felt like a witness to something sacred, something that had been happening long before he ever arrived. Shadow wasn't just mourning, he was remembering. Holding on to love, the way only someone who had truly felt it would. On the 10th night, James didn't turn on the cameras. He didn't stay inside. He made tea, lit the porch lantern, and sat in the second seat of the swing. Then, he waited. The woods whispered. The air cooled. And just past 2 a.m., Shadow emerged from the trees. He stopped at the edge of the clearing, blinking slowly. Massive. Silent. Still. James didn't move. He simply whispered, "Welcome home." To his astonishment, Shadow stepped forward, carefully, respectfully. He didn't lunge. Didn't sniff. Didn't growl. He walked to the swing. Sat down beside James. And for a moment, the world stood still. They sat there, man and bear, side by side, rocking gently beneath the stars. James could hear the bear breathing. Slow. Deep. Not a sound of threat, but of comfort. He looked at Shadow's paw, resting gently near the carved initials. "They loved you," James said quietly. "You didn't forget them, did you?" Shadow didn't respond. But James didn't expect him to. Because the answer was clear. This wasn't a beast. This was someone who had loved. And lost. And never let it go. Shadow stood after a while, slowly, as if his time had come. He glanced once at the porch. At James. And then stepped down the stairs, disappearing into the night. That was the last time James saw him. But he would never forget it. James uploaded a final video, just a short, quiet clip of the bear sitting beside him. No music. No narration. Just stars. Breath. Swing. It went viral within hours. Tens of millions watched. People cried. Commented. I didn't know animals could mourn like this. This changed how I see everything. I've never cried over a bear before. Scientists reached out. Wildlife experts debated it. But James said only one thing in his post. His name was Shadow. He wasn't lost, he was remembering. And for a while, I got to remember with him. Spring came early the following year. Snow melted down the mountainside, and with it, the last of the ashen silence that once coated James's cabin. Wildflowers returned to the forest floor, and birdsong filled the trees like soft laughter. But the porch swing remained still. Shadow never came back. James waited at first. Kept the cameras running, brewed late-night tea, even left out fresh apples near the steps. But the bear, the one who had come for nights on end, had moved on. Or maybe, finally, he had found peace. And James? He didn't feel abandoned. He felt honored. Because what he had witnessed wasn't just instinct or coincidence, it was loyalty beyond species. A story not of a wild animal, but of a heart that had never let go. James had the porch swing restored. He carefully sanded the old wood, leaving the carved initials, E+L, untouched. He added a brass plate beneath them that read, "For those who remember, even when the world forgets." Then he did something the Harpers never got to do. He opened the back of his land to the local school district, built a short forest trail, marked with signs about bears, memory, and kindness. And at the end of that trail stood the porch swing, now sheltered under a timber canopy. Children came by the dozens. Some sat on the swing. Some asked about the bear in the video. Some left drawings, letters, even honey jars. James never claimed to be the bear's owner. Or its rescuer. He was simply its witness. Years later, after James passed away peacefully in his sleep, something remarkable happened. One of the trail cams, now monitored by a local nonprofit, caught something unusual. A young bear. Not quite like Shadow. Smaller. But it walked the same path. And it paused at the swing. Sniffed it. Saturday. Rocked. Just once. Then it stood, looked around, and disappeared into the woods. Some say it was nothing. Just coincidence. But those who knew the story believe differently. Because love leaves trails, invisible ones, across time, species, and generations. And maybe, just maybe, Shadow's memory had passed on.